keep on kissing babies and hugging fat girls. You are a sniveling little suck-up sellout full of suffering succotash, son.
It's me, Austin! Oh, son of a bitch! What? It's me, Austin! It was me all along, Austin!
And you t-shirts are too tight too, Billy! And you book a match with me against Ryan Keelan? Look at me! I'm a total package! I will rip him apart! I'm pissed now!
Where to, Stephanie?
WrestleRoasts on ad-free shows and ATC. Welcome everybody to WrestleRoasts. Today we're roasting JBL. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a barn burner. We're also going to be talking SummerSlam, Dynamite. Big show, big show. How's everybody doing? Are you guys ready to roast wrestling's boogeyman and not boogeyman?
I was gonna say we're talking about Dynamite and SummerSlam, but not the big show. Big show. I didn't want people to turn off. We're talking about Paul White, actually. Yeah, man, this guy sucks. This guy really sucks.
Scott, are you a big fan of JBL?
JBL was a big part of, my early teen years.
Okay, we're in Brightside JBL.
Yeah, it's Brightside. So
I'll try.
He was the top heel, I guess, for a minute, like after Triple H. He was SmackDown's top heel at least. And I thought he did a good job with Eddie, And then I remember he fought Batista at SummerSlam. Well, it's Brightside, so I can't. This is tough. He was good. I think he was pretty good on the mic. I think he was good on the mic, and you know what? Pretty funny. That comes with most bullies. They're pretty funny.
Good job, Mike.
I think that
I'm serious. That was more than I thought it'd be.
He was a perfect heel. I'm trying to be positive here. Look, him at WrestleMania as the guy that got thwarted by Cena was a great role for him. That was awesome. Like, I think WrestleMania 21's, especially now in hindsight, one of the most important WrestleManias. And I think that JBL and Triple H both fulfill their roles as guys you're happy to see lose so that young guys can take over. And I liked him on commentary at first. I thought he was a good, refreshing heel voice. I love a good heel commentator. He was no Heenan or Ventura, but nobody is. But, he had some good rapport with Michael Cole and stuff. So that is my positives, and now I'm going to kill myself.
And even like, okay, the going to the border segments or whatever, you go like, okay, that's wrong. But in terms of pro wrestling,
it was
you
hilarious.
don't get much better than that. Yeah.
It was pretty hilarious.
Pretty great.
Because it was so bad. It's like, that's the thing, when wrestling is that over the top, like you can't be like, oh, good heavens. Like, it's stupid already.
I hardly touch like the offensive things he did as a character in this roast.
Yeah, all of that worked for me a lot.
Yeah. Robert, you're a low-key JBL fan of the wrestler, right?
Mainly because I like his policies towards minorities, women, homosexuals, and Democrats. Look, of all the people I worked with on SmackDown, he didn't kill his family. So that's part of the bright side. No, but I will genuinely praise JBL here in a lot of ways. I think his work with the APA was fantastic. Him and Farouk together were a great team. The shtick with the door always got me. And I've said this before, I am a huge fan of doors with no walls and people walking through it in wrestling. They did it with Bayley a little while ago. I don't know why I love it, but I love it. He is one of the reasons why John Cena and Batista got over as main eventers. He was selfless with both of them, and he had no problem once he got to the top being willing to show ass. He was put into a lot of very goofy situations where he was drugged with a dart and had a match with an inflatable Godzilla. He was stripped down out of his suit a number of times. He's also probably going to go down as one of the greatest reinventions of a character of all time. He went from this Bradshaw rough and tumble cowboy character to this JBL $1 Million Man ripoff character, and he played it perfectly, and he became a main eventer and a champion with it. And it's been discussed a number of times that you wouldn't have thought this guy that was Justin Hawk Bradshaw was ever going to be WWE champion, let alone a long-term WWE champion who was able to make the most with the roster that he was given and the situations he was given. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have that great moment at ECW One Night Stand with Paul Heyman's "The only reason you're champion is because Hunter won't work Tuesdays," and his selling of it was perfect. He was a great commentator at first because he was a fresh voice and was saying things.
The key words there are "at first," folks.
Well, at first, but
right side. That's what we damn.
But right, eventually, everybody look. Corey Graves was fantastic on commentary at first. Eventually, when you have Vince screaming in your ear enough, it grinds you down to where you just don't care.
Yeah,
and
Pat McAfee is great on commentary at first.
And now he's faking COVID just so he doesn't have to keep doing SmackDown.
He needs a break.
Right. And JBL and Cole got along well because they're both real life heels. They're both real life assholes. And they play off that really, really well. And when he was a commentator, he again was a selfless commentator. He was all about getting guys over. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have the Big Match John nickname. He made things feel important when he was doing commentary, and it almost kind of maybe somewhat sort of makes you forget the fact that he's a huge piece of shit.
All right, I'll go through my notes. I love the APA. Him and Ron Simmons were a perfect complement to the finesse of an Edge or a Jeff Hardy. Very good old school heel, not a cool heel. Never had merch, even though who the fuck would buy it. He was actually outspoken on the environment in 2007. He said global warming was real, which pretty crazy for that guy to say that.
That was a rib, Dan.
As far as matches, I mean, look, there weren't a lot of great matches with him as a singles. His match with Finlay at WrestleMania 24, I thought was a really fun way to, kickstart the show. And as far as like a garbage match is concerned, he had a fun match with Eddie. I liked his entrance. And accolades.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe this is real, but we not only got a handicapper, but we got the best ever. So I got to ask, how are you so good at handicapping these games? I mean, 4-0, that's quite a streak already.
Well, let's talk about every pick I've given this year in the NFL as an example. 23-8. Every pick I've given this year. 4 weeks in the bag, 23-8. There's nobody in the country that can match what I do, but I always make sure, because anybody, Conrad, could make up anything. They could tell you and blow smoke and tell you, oh, I'm the greatest. But I am independently monitored and documented, so nobody could ever question what I say and go, I don't believe it. I send every pick to an independent monitoring and documentation service that has to get the pick before the game goes off and then publishes it after the game goes off so anybody can see what I gave. And those picks for the year, every NFL pick so far, 23-8. And I think it's because I do more homework than anybody else. The average guy or gal watching this podcast, they don't have time. They have a career. They have jobs. They might read the newspaper or go online and see something, but they don't have time 80 hours a week to study the games. That's what I do. And I have a crew of guys behind me, my consultants, who every week we get together 3 times a week and they throw their ideas at me. I throw my ideas at them. And then I pick the final 5 plays on Saturday and Sunday in college and pro football. So, I've got a great team behind me too, but we're all doing together hundreds of hours of homework. So you don't have to. It's all at vegaswinners.com.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to vegaswinners.com right now. Let's win some money.
WWE champion, Intercontinental champion, United States champion, 18-time hardcore champion, European champion, 3-time tag team champion, and Wrestling Observer's Best Gimmick in 2004, and WWE Hall of Fame. He also was a success out of wrestling in the financial markets. At least that's what he made us believe. I think that he wouldn't have been hired on, CNBC or Fox. If there wasn't some truth to that. So Did we get the bright side out of the way for this guy?
Also, and this just bears saying because it is true. When he moved to Bermuda, he started a rugby league for underprivileged kids to try to help get them off the streets and stop a lot of the violence. So, you know, I'm sure
we're not
you know
changing any of our jokes. Robert.
No, I'm sure like Hitler started a youth soccer league somewhere in Germany.
Yeah, it's called the Nazi Party.
Yeah, I mean,
they both had goals.
There, you know, Nazi Party got a lot of kids off the streets.
Hey, that party gave us a future pope.
That's true. Yeah, nobody likes to talk about like the Vatican and swastika insignias around all the Pope mobiles at one time. All right. Well, that's for another
Dan.
The last thing I'll say, the best possible version of Jinder Mahal, because they tried this with Jinder and it didn't work. And I know that JBL might be listening to that and feeling it's a compliment.
He could have got Shanky over.
Let's start this roast off. Scott, you want to start out, buddy?
I will gladly start out. I will say I wrote a bunch of stuff that ended up getting deleted, but I think a lot of my best stuff is still saved. All right, here we go. Are we ready? John, Bradshaw Layfield. He's shaped like Baby Huey and walks like he has shit in his pants. His hat is 10 gallons and his diaper holds 20. He's a cowboy in that you can milk him. He's shaped like he sings Bare Necessities. Which is fitting because his career, Baloo. Of all the wrestling rednecks, he's Bill Engvall. He's Larry, the reason I stopped watching cable guy. He called himself a wrestling god. He had a clothesline from hell, and watching his matches felt like purgatory. Farouk and Bradshaw were like Danny Glover and Mel Gibson's opinions. He's definitely said, hey, I'm not racist. My tag partner's black. And finally, he thought the blue meanie was Michael Moore.
Scott Chaplin, everybody. Michael Lawrence.
All right, today we're roasting JBL, the Benoit that got off free because he got people to kill themselves. He's got the personality of a parent whose kid dies in the middle of Willy Wonka. JBL is what would happen if Jeff Jarrett and Toby Keith morphed into one person, only kept the worst traits. I mean, only kept all of their traits. He's the guy so obnoxious that Vince Russo was like, we got to do something about his ego, bro. Let's have real fights on this fake show. Bradshaw was beaten in the semifinals of the Brawl for All, and hopefully that's not the last time he gets taken out by a gun.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Don't worry. If someone did shoot JBL, his last words would be about how it's your God-given right as an American to do that. JBL said the only reason he lost to Bart Gunn is because it was a clash of styles. And crazy enough, the next time he got knocked out was because of a clash with styles. Fuck Tom McGee and all the other hidden gems. Where's the footage of Joey Styles knocking out JBL? There are some bipolar Canadian commentators that would pay top dollar for that. Mamma mia, what a punch! He reinvented himself as a main eventer when he had the thought, what if Ted DiBiase hated Mexicans? It's amazing that he calls himself a self-made man when he was only a main eventer due to the tireless work of immigrants. In addition to being a wrestler, he also served as a prosecutor backstage in wrestling court. His biggest accomplishment was saying "Your Honor" to a guy named The Undertaker. He teamed with Orlando Jordan, which was tough for him because he wasn't sure if he should pick on him for being gay or black. With Ron Simmons, it was so easy. Just kidding. He would never make fun of Ron Simmons. JBL got in big trouble for doing Nazi salutes in Germany, and his response was, that ain't the real me. I'm just playing a character that believes the Holocaust happened. There is no way JBL is anti-Semitic. Some of his best friends are Peter Rosenberg. JBL cut a promo 2 days after 9/11 about how the terrorists are cowards. This is the same guy who tells Rene Dupree to tie his shoelaces so he can punch him in the dick. Those terrorists hijacked a plane and crashed into a building with nothing but a box cutter. You sucker punched the Blue Meanie, you fucking coward. JBL's like the Taliban. Even when you think he's gone, he always comes back. He's the kind of guy who says that he really cares about the troops, but always wants them overseas away from their families, killing a bunch of other people's families. Thanks to him, wrestlers got to go to hostile areas away from their families on Christmas. Even when he's charitable, he's bullying. If you really care about the troops, Johnny, send them care packages and hookers and set up hardcore Holly and Snitsky matches. In conclusion, fuck JBL, and for the record, the name is Michael, not Maggle. There's no G in it, you slack-jawed yokel.
Russell JBL, I'll go up next. JBL with his shirt off looks like what would happen if Mike Awesome melted. A lot of people think JBL is a complete piece of shit, but to be fair, there's also plenty of people who don't know who JBL is. He's the first guy in history to get someone to start a suicide note with "Mamma Mia." He's what would happen if the phrase "you." He's what would happen if the phrase "you too good for this bar" became a person. He's proof of how far having a cool black friend can get you. The Acolytes were first managed by Don Callis, but it wouldn't be the first time Don dealt with an order of protection. JBL's finisher was originally called the clothesline from Texas, and it's still the easiest way someone from Dallas can get an abortion. Then it became the clothesline from hell, which is weird because that's the only move of his that looked good. How about the rest hold from hell or the every time he's on commentary from hell? JBL on commentary was like listening to the bartender cheer on Jodie Foster's rapist and the accused. It's like listening to a Shark Tank host bid on the fence Matthew Shepard died on. He's from Sweetwater, which is also what he called it when he made Rene Dupree drink piss. The only thing that could get JBL over was 9/11, an event he still blames Mike and Robert on. He got fired from CNBC for doing a Nazi salute, but then Fox News hired him. In comedy, we call that the premise becoming the punchline. It's unfair to compare JBL to Hitler. Hitler switched up his promos. JBL isn't a complete conservative. He knew global warming was real when he went to Antarctica and mistook the polar ice caps for his tits. His hat was inspired by George W. Bush and his title run by the decision to invade Iraq. He lost to CM Punk at SummerSlam from a go to sleep, which is also what fans did in the arena. He's the first guy to have their back broken from someone else carrying them. Those who can do and those who can't bully the Blue Meanie into an eating disorder. He shot on the Blue Meanie. Jesus Christ, talking about kicking someone who was born down. Was he sick of putting magnets on Droz's wheelchair? He got his ass beat by Joey Styles. The last time Joey saw that big of a pussy was when he dug Spike Dudley out of Missy Hyatt. He's gotten beat up by Steve Blackman, Joey Styles, Tracy Smothers, Stevie Richards, and Bart Gunn. They should have formed a stable. Creative has nothing for you. For life! And finally, it's kind of ironic that a JBL speaker is both a great way to hear music and what played in Chris Canyon's head when he killed himself. That's it for me, folks. Robert Karpeles.
Bradshaw created tribute to the troops so that our brave servicemen could realize that being shot at by the Taliban isn't as bad as watching a JBL match. The APA were Pat Patterson's favorite tag team, which explains their always pounding ass t-shirt. Bradshaw infamously goose-stepped during a show in Germany. The German government was furious, as they did not want to tarnish the good name of Nazism by associating it with JBL. Much like the Nazis, JBL had a notorious reputation around showers. Bradshaw would sneak up on wrestlers in the shower and rub soap on their asses. According to Edge, if you protested, you were labeled a prima donna, and if you didn't, you were probably the Brooklyn Brawler. As a member of the Acolytes, Bradshaw was a devil-worshipping, mindless disciple, which helped prepare him for his future role as a Fox News pundit. JBL was part of the revived tag team, the Blackjacks. Blackjack is what he calls most of the local children in Bermuda. In wrestler court, JBL was often the prosecutor. He felt he wasn't hated enough, so he chose to become an attorney. All right, here's my Scott joke of the week. JBL led a stable with Orlando Jordan, Jillian Hall, and the Bashams called the Cabinet, a group that belonged in the wood chipper. After abandoning the Bradshaw character, he became JBL, a wrestler with a beer gut spouting right-wing rhetoric, now known as going full Chris Jericho. JBL called himself a wrestling god, which explains why most wrestlers were atheists. Finally, JBL had a reputation as a bully and a racist and was hated by most of the people who work with him. But on the plus side, he did rid the business of Mauro Ranallo, so he isn't all that bad.
Oh, man. Mauro gets it bad on this one. Roast to JBL, everybody. Roast to JBL. For our show in hell this week, we after watching it, I realized this isn't a show in hell. It's an Ain't That Swell. And that's the Stevie Richards receipt. Whereas after Blue, if you guys don't know the story, I mean, I'm not going to explain it. You can go on every shoot interview site on YouTube and check it out. But JBL was pissed off at something the Blue Meanie said on the internet. And then, shoot beat his ass for real. Brian listens to this podcast. He's a really good guy. So obviously we're in team Brian for that, Blue Meanie. But the Stevie Richards receipt, I guess a couple weeks later, instead of firing JBL, which is probably what they should have done, they had Stevie Richards enacted revenge by hitting him over the head with a steel chair. And my note for this was he hit him pretty hard, but it wasn't enough. Like I just kept fantasizing about the scene in Airplane where everybody lines up, and maybe gets a chance to hit JBL in the head with a chair. What did you think about this, Scott?
I mean, it's devastating, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty brutal. Meanie does get, it is funny because when people talk about it, they go, oh, Meanie got to beat JBL. That's the whole thing, but it's not the win. It is the chair shot. That's the moment. That is the receipt. And I mean, it busted him open. I remember, so this happened on my birthday. It was a SmackDown. It was July 7th, 2005.
Wait, was this your wish?
Yeah. But I remember, after One Night Stand, the news getting out immediately on the internet and people flipping out. And I remember I recorded One Night Stand. So going back to it and watching it and trying to look for JBL attacking Meanie, it was all very insane to me. Obviously, Meanie is right. JBL was wrong. And the receipt is not worth the attack, but it's a lot of fun to watch. Yeah. You could watch the whole match or you could just watch the 13-second clip of the chair shot.
Yeah, I'm going to get to Robert at the end because I'd love to hear the backstage story about this. But Mike, what did you think watching this?
With everything that we've learned about concussions and brain trauma in the last 15 years, I'm really glad this happened now. I mean, this is the big issue is, look, if they had a fight, if Meanie was talking shit, whatever, when you're in the ring, you're supposed to trust each other and not hurt each other. And the fact that he took a staged fight as a real opportunity to attack somebody is bullshit. I mean, it's literally it's a criminal assault. Like, he fucking assaulted Blue Meanie in front of a bunch of people, and it's gross. One thing I don't understand is why Meanie wasn't the one who gave the receipt. Maybe he didn't want to. I've never asked him about it, but I mean, it is interesting because Meanie, because then Meanie, I watched the whole match. Meanie then does like a moonsault, and JBL kicks out of it, and then JBL loses because of Batista interference. So
I mean, Vince is still booking.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, was this your idea?
What's that?
Was this Robert's idea, Robert?
No, I still wanted Bradshaw to go over clean.
but I mean, the last thing I'll say about it is that I feel like this is just like, all of this is just how fucking weird wrestling is, right? Like, he took liberties, and so then they're like, you know what'll make it fair? you just take a fucking chair shot to the head. Like, what a weird thing we love, guys.
Yeah, Robert. So I have a couple questions. Number one, you were there, I believe, during this.
I was at WWE at this time. I wasn't. I hadn't transitioned on to creative yet, but I was there, and
you were
heard all
there.
about
So,
this, yeah.
what did you hear about the reaction to the initial assault of Blue Meanie? What did you hear about the receipt, and what was it like working with JBL?
So the initial whatever transpired, Bradshaw did try to play off after, as this was all part of it to make things look good, and he supposedly went on to the talent bus to go say, "Hey, great show, guys! Thank you so much." And they were kind of like, "Fuck you, what you did to Meanie." And he tries to have it both ways. He likes to be able to say, this is entertainment. So any of the stuff that he does when he's taking liberties is really just, this is me in character. And yeah, I was just being a bad guy going a little too far, but you got to be tough because that's what this industry is. And then because it got out there and there's a little bit of buzz, this was really us starting to try to see what the internet was interested in and play to them a little bit without actually shifting the entirety of the show, which is why you weren't going to have Meanie beat JBL clean. You were still going to advance your Batista story. And it was, let's give them this moment because SmackDown is taped. So we knew, hey, the spoilers are going to come out that this moment happens. So people are now more inclined to tune into a bland SmackDown in the middle of the summer when it's the doldrums, because you want to see this moment. I mean, how often are you really excited for a Blue Meanie JBL match involving Stevie Richards? I mean, that would be like, 90% of Dynamite, which we'll get to. But as far as working with JBL,
I was a big Stevie Richards mark, so that's also my opinion on AEW.
And I love Stevie Richards. I
like Stevie Richards. I just thought he never, he always got sad. I liked Right to Censor, actually.
Dude, Right to Censor was so over.
Right to Censor is a great gimmick. I mean,
people
booed
them.
They gave him. They just gave him some gimmicks though that were like in TNA they gave him the gimmick of like Abyss's psychiatrist, and that like flopped. But anyway, whatever. We're not going to.
And I tried pitching something for Stevie where he was going to try to be one of the Mexicools because he was just trying so hard to find something, and it was going to ultimately lead to like, what the hell are you doing? You need to be true to who you are and realize you're a talented wrestler. But then they were like, you're pitching something for Stevie Richards, maybe not the hill to die on. But no, JBL there was a big reputation. I was legitimately worried about working with JBL or leaving my bag unattended around him or any of that. He came at me hard the first time I met him, which was when I introduced myself. He was like, "Oh, just what we need, another liberal Jew," and
which is actually how you got the co-host position here.
Well, it was what my shirt said when I met him. But
I don't know why you would say that. You're not that liberal.
That's fair. But no, but you know what? But I was prepared. I came back with it. I'm like, dude, I went to college in the South. You got to do a little better than that. And then it was okay. And there was another writer who vouched for me, Alex Greenfield, who was friends with JBL, even though he was the official liberal Jew of the crew, who was like far left of me. And they would go back and forth at it politically. And he kind of respected you if you punched back in the same way most bullies do. And at the same time, if he felt that a writer liked him and they were going to make him look good, he was going to kind of back off a little bit. But he was an absolute prick to Justin Roberts, who's a friend of mine, it's in Justin's book. He outlines what he did, especially stealing his passport and not giving it back to the point where Justin had to go to the London bureau office to get paperwork so he could get back home to the States. And it's that kind of shit where he would think something is funny and take it really, really
That's
far.
what Brett did to George the Animal Steel for marking him tardy.
Yeah, but that was different. That was sophisticated. It was thought through, and
listen. The way that JBL threw the passport away, he only got like 7 feet. But when I threw those pills, it was like a football field.
No, but JBL is the kind of guy who takes a rib to a degree where it's no longer funny. It's now just you're being a complete asshole. And I don't know if that's just growing up the way he did in Texas and playing football and you just got to be tough, or it's just he's a total prick. It's trying to justify why somebody is a bully and without like a Nelson Muntz backstory.
Every time there's been a legit fight with him backstage, yes, he's gotten his ass handed to him, right?
And that's always what happens. And that's why he took the chair shot from Stevie. It was kind of a mea culpa.
Yeah, what did he do after that? Did he try to like
No, it was a pre-planned thing. It was you're gonna do this. I'm going to take this and everything's going to be buried, because in the barbaric, weird world of wrestling for a very long time, this is what it is. This is what, when Undertaker talked about how the locker room now is too soft and they're playing video games, it's because back then this is the kind of shit they would do, which is someone's going to legitimately hit someone, they're going to get a receipt, and it's going to be okay. This is the same era of Bob Holly beating up Rene Dupree for the incident with his rental car.
Who do you think would win in a shoot fight, Stevie Richards or JBL?
Stevie Richards. Stevie's physically fit and really knows what he's doing. JBL is a melted candle. He's 80% gimmick.
I always look at his thighs. He has he's got like just the biggest thighs in all of wrestling, I think.
He's built like Foghorn Leghorn.
He's one of the lead DDP instructors, right? I mean, I've seen him recently. That dude's fucking jacked. I would not fuck with him.
Yeah, I saw him a couple years ago. He's in tremendous shape. I'm not messing with Stevie
JBL?
Richards.
Oh, Stevie Richards. Okay.
No, JBL's in a shape, but it's grimace.
I mean, did you ever get to see Wrestlers Court where writers
No, we weren't allowed to ever be anywhere near that. That was entirely them policing themselves. And that was kind of blown up a little bit. Like, it was more, they're on the road. They just kind of need to do something to entertain themselves and find an excuse to make somebody pay for booze. It wasn't like this really serious thing where we were going to find out about it and, we have to postpone pre-tapes because they're doing Wrestlers. But Vince isn't going to put up with that shit. Like, they'll find a way to do it and have it be fun, or, I mean, not fun for the guy who's going through it, but for the most part, it never interfered with anything that was going on. And if nothing else, built a little bit of camaraderie.
But in this era, this was 2005. One of the most uncomfortable things is the pewter Royal Rumble, right? Where it's 4 or 5 guys all beating the shit out of him. Would that have been a Wrestlers Court verdict?
No, that's just, they're going to haze somebody and bring him in the same way. It's all right, we got a new guy. We're going to put him in there with Bob Holly and see if he can take it. And it was, I feel like I was there at the tail end of the really barbaric world of the locker room where, this is what Miz was enduring when he first started there. We brought him in for some initial just pre-tapes with him and Matt Capitelli, where they were going to be a team playing on this reality show stuff. And it was it was really uncomfortable. The locker room was not an ideal space. A guy like Paul London or Brian Kendrick got shit on because they, not literally, but they got shit on because they were in a good mood and being goofy. And you would get heat if you were talking to Brian Kendrick. Oh, that guy is goofy and wacky. Don't associate with him.
Oof, yikes. It's it's just kind of bizarre too, because they say, the roster now, it's all full of weak pussies, and you're pretty sure Matt Riddle could beat up anybody, and including anybody in that locker room. With maybe the exception of Brock and Angle, it's not even close.
Yeah, but it's also the, in the PSA, I learned from watching you. It's these guys now saw what happened to the guys before, and it was ugly and brutal and very sad. And I mean, especially the amount of second generation wrestlers now whose dads are dead. If you're Cody and Dusty should have lived a lot longer. I mean, and he was, I know, fat, but a lot of
Brian Pillman. It's he told me most of the stuff he knows about his dad is just anecdotal stories people have told him.
Yeah.
And that's the image he has of his dad. It's not there's memories that he has. It's just, I know who Brian Pillman, the wrestler, is, and I know the stories my mom told me. And that's how or the same thing with Curtis Axel.
But let's be honest, Robert. When if you're a wrestler and your dad hangs out with you every day, you just become Griff Garrison.
Yeah, I mean, those are two separate issues, right? I mean,
Yeah, and also let's remember, your dad doesn't have to be a wrestler to be toxic and dead now.
Right. And also it's the drug issue is a way different issue.
I agree, Scott. You're right, Scott.
No, but the
you
drug,
wind up a comedian.
I heard your cry for help.
The drug issue is a completely different issue than the bullying issue. I mean, there's some overlap here, but it's not
I would hope JBL is drunk some of this, right?
I mean,
A
it's
lot of
just like, I mean, like the
people
reason that a lot of
die
people were
being bad
dying
at
of
being drunk.
the reason that a lot of people were dying of overdoses of painkillers was that was the time where painkillers were killing everybody in the US. It wasn't just wrestlers, it was like, the Oxycontin industry and shit.
And do you think that a part of why the wrestlers court culture dissolved and stuff was, the internet? And like, I remember hearing about the Rene Dupree stuff, like, and the Joey Styles fight and all of that. Like, there was probably a time where all of that stuff was kept backstage, but the more it leaked out, the more
it leaks out, and it's always stupid. Like, I mean, one of the cautionary tales we were told was the Edge and Christian one, that they were associating too much with Bryan, and it got heat on them. And therefore, it was like, we needed to be careful when we're talking with wrestlers that you can't be buddy with them. You can't, form these bonds, even though when you do have those sorts of relationships, you're much better at being able to create content for them because they trust you. And in Bryan's case, it has now turned him into hopefully, Mike's future boss. But it's one of those things where you hear these things dribs and drabs, and they just make up the rules as they go along. And it's a lot like college, where a tradition only goes back 4 years because the oldest person that was there was, theoretically a freshman, and now they're a senior. So all the unwritten rules of wrestling that we were told in 2005 and 6 probably now in 2021 sound crazy and antiquated and ridiculous.
Yeah, I remember reading that it was Edge and Christian bought him a Flash action figure, and all the other wrestlers were mad.
Yeah,
that rules.
But it also shows how ignorant and stupid, like, all due respect, how ignorant and stupid wrestlers are, that they think that if, like, you're nice to one of the writers, we're going to change your career and not Vince. Like, none of us are going to suddenly pull Vince aside and be like, hey, look, this Steve Austin guy is fine and all, but Christian got me an action figure.
yeah.
Maybe he's the guy we strap the rocket to.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you didn't realize that what happened, like, Austin pushed himself because he's like, hey, Russo, here's a Tamagotchi.
Bro, the thing shits and dies. I love it.
Hey, well, I guess this is a good time to tell you this Monday, the roast of Vince Russo will be dropping. We're also going to be reviewing that'll be on the Patreon, by the way. If you're on the Patreon member. Right? But so if you become a Patreon member, that's a $5 tier. You get the roast of Vince Russo. You get us reviewing the Judy Bagwell on a forklift match. We couldn't find the reverse battle royal online. I ended up watching what I didn't fucking realize was the second reverse battle royal and taking a shitload of notes on it. And so I have fucking notes for a show that we're never going to cover. But yes, it was a very bad match. Just in case you guys are maybe not bury the lead here. It was fucking terrible. But we will be talking about the roast of Vince Russo next week. When we also talk about just some shows that are coming up. Next week, next Thursday, we're doing the roast of Lawrence Taylor with special guest Jared Freed, who's a huge New York Giants fan like myself. Then we're going to be doing the roast of the Bella Twins, roast of AJ Styles, the roast of the Honky Tonk Man, then the roast of Gangrel has been in the news lately, a little fanging and banging for everybody. The roast of Darby Allin, Abdullah the Butcher, Alexa Bliss, and Kane. If you're a member of our $10 tier, something to sports entertainment with, Mike Lawrence was on this past week talking with us about the last NXT TakeOver, which was fantastic. NXT TakeOver 36, which that amazing Walter Dragunov match. And we also cover Monday Night Raw this week. Our something to sports entertainment with next week will be SmackDown. In addition to, do you guys want to talk Rampage and SmackDown for the roast of Vince Russo too? Just decide which show's better.
Cool over, but Rampage was taped and not much happened.
Oh, okay. All right. So we'll just do the roast for Vince Russo, but
SmackDown should be really big though. No face.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's do what we'll do. All right. For the roast of Vince Russo, we'll also do what was a better show, SmackDown or Rampage. All right,
or
folks.
AEW Dark Elevation for 7 hours.
Yeah.
Scott, as the token AEW sympathist, not much happened on Rampage, right?
No, I think it looks like a fun show, but
it looks like a fun show.
It looks like a really good match.
I heard the tag match is insane.
Yeah,
I can't wait for that.
I heard the Nakazawa Omega match is really funny and progresses the story. and I heard the women's match was pretty good. And that's all that happens, right? And maybe they'll film some stuff.
Dude, Ty Conti lays it in, dude. She lays it in.
Yeah,
also, how can they do a women's match if the show airs after 9:30?
It's like feeding a Mogwai after midnight. All right,
Is that the guy facing Moxley?
We'll talk about that. But so Patreon, we got the Roost of Vince Russo. September 6th, we're off. September 13th, we're doing the Bright Sides we didn't get to. Bret Hart, Goldberg, the Hardy Boys, $1 Million Man, Big Show, Shane McMahon, and Baron Corbin. September 20th, WrestleMania 2. September 27th, we're going to be reviewing Extreme Rules. October 4th, the Roast of Alberto Del Rio. October 11th, Halloween Havoc. 1993 and Wrestling's Darkest Crimes. It's going to be a double episode. October 18th, we're off. October 25th will probably be the WWE pay-per-view. So whatever one we're covering there. And November 1st, the Roast of Nick Gage. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up for the autumn as summer closes. And what better way to wrap up the end of wrestling summer than to review what do they say? That's the biggest party of the summer.
Yeah.
Which is such a bizarre moniker.
But only if you're an
SummerSlam.
Irish white woman.
SummerSlam. This show, I don't think any of us were a huge fan of this show for a lot of reasons, but a lot happened. So we have a lot to talk about. The opening match was Randy Orton and Riddle versus AJ Styles and Omos. The right people won, but I thought the match was kind of underwhelming. I was expecting a lot more. I thought the ending was super abrupt. We all talked about possibly this awesome spot of AJ Styles doing the phenomenal forearm off of Omos and then getting RKO'd. None of that ever happened. It was just like an RKO with a distraction from Matt Riddle, but like the commentators had to do more of the work explaining the story than like us actually watching the story. Like when it happened, I was like, wait, it's over? I don't know. I wasn't this impressed by this match. Scott, what did you think?
Yeah, I was more into, I didn't watch the pre-show or anything like that. So this was the first time I saw how big the crowd was and how everything was set up. And I was more into that and excited about that and seeing these wrestlers that I like be in front of those people. I don't remember anything that happened in the match other than, oh, this looks visually nice. And then
they're all talented, all four guys.
Oh, yeah, I like them all, yeah.
Pre-show, we had Big E versus Baron Corbin, which should have been on the main show. I don't know why.
Yeah,
that's a show I want. That's a match I want to see. And Baron's been a lot of fun lately, and Big E's great. Robert and Mike, what did you guys think about this opening match?
So quick on the Baron thing, they made a point on commentary of because they're trying to do the downward spiral of Baron Corbin that if he made it on the main show, you can't say that he's down on his luck, but he can only make it on the pre-show. Therefore, it's his life still sucks, which speaks volumes about like Big E.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fun, I guess.
I thought the tag match was fine. It was the right result. This got a lot of time on Raw building up to this big reunion of RK Bro. And when the match ended, Dan, your point, this was very abrupt. This felt like a Raw match and not a Survivor Series match. And then the next night on Raw, they really emphasized that by just continuing the feud. I do kind of hate the AJ Omos tag team just because AJ by default has to be the weak one and the guy who gets beat up all the time and the guy that gets pinned. And I'm worried it's going to do some damage to him going forward, given Vince's mindset.
Mike?
I want Nikki Cross to start teaming with him and call him almost the superhero. With almost
Jesus Christ, get the fuck out of here.
Kick him out of the Zoom.
That joke blew.
Simple
the Crow Master returns.
What a callback.
Sorry for doing comedy on a comedy podcast.
Oh, God, get off your high. Don't do the sorry for the comedy thing.
All right, we have 4 hours and 25 minutes of wrestling.
Don't do what my wife does when I'm winning an argument. Oh, I'm sorry. I care too much.
In-depth commentary on a fucking almost AJ Styles match.
This is a serious show. It's the party of the summer. Next up,
Do you have any people got COVID just to see this match, Mike?
Sasha Banks did.
One.
Next up, we have
He got COVID from Boog.
next up we have Eva Marie versus Alexa Bliss. For Eva Marie, actually won this match. My note for this was just these finishes stink.
No, Alexa Bliss won.
Alexa Bliss. No, I'm sorry. I wrestled the match. I should say.
Oh, yeah.
Eva Marie actually wrestled the match, didn't win the match. Again, another fucking terrible finish. And then it sets up the breakup of Eva Marie and Pootie Pie or Dewdrop or whatever the fuck her name is. Tomorrow Night, a talented wrestler. Terrible name. What did you think about this, Mike?
Oh man, well, since I can't do puns.
Yes, you can do a comedy joke. You just can't do a lame fucking Nikki Ash almost pun. We're not saying you can't do jokes.
You know, I just think that they really did a good job of elevating Dewdrop.
Yeah.
You can hurt your back doing that.
All right, Robert.
What do you want me to say?
This match sucked worse because they wrestled a straight up match. This storyline featured a winking doll, and all we got was a technical wrestling match with Eva fucking Marie.
With a fucking DDT finish. It was
That's
so
the part
weird.
that bought. Like, I was fine with this match being on the card because I'm like, all right, they're going to do something really stupid, and at least it'll be quick and wacky, and Scott can have something to laugh at. And instead, we got a straight up technical wrestling match, and the crowd hated it, and it damaged Alexa Bliss, I think.
What's worse, the name Dewdrop or Karrion Kross's new mask? What is more damaging?
Karrion Kross's new mask wins.
Oh, somebody definitely took a dewdrop in that mask before he put it on.
Scott, what do you think of this match?
Yeah, man, no bueno. Didn't care for it. That's really it. I do think Dewdrop will be fun to watch, just not yet.
Oh, she was great in those Pitch Perfect movies.
Motherfucker.
I will not stand for you speaking ill of Pitch Perfect, Mike.
Mario Lopez backstage. I just wrote boo.
That's a real thing you just
said. Damian Priest for Sheamus. My first note for this was live forever, man. Talk about a tempting fate wrestling gimmick. If ever I did hear one, you don't want that to be your fucking gimmick name. I thought this was a really good match, though. They worked really hard. These guys have a lot of chemistry together. I haven't been a huge fan of like Damian Priest's promos, but no, in the match, I hate the fucking hand clappy thing. I don't know what the fuck that is, but as far as a match, I thought it was pretty good. Scott?
But the thing with all three of these, like these Raw matches, they feel like Raw matches. So I don't give a fuck, no matter how good they are. I barely give a shit, unfortunately. And that's what happened here. I think Damian Priest worked his ass off. Sheamus always delivers, but there I am looking at my phone, taking a piss, looking in the fridge, looking at my phone, scratching my ass. The match is over. Like that's this is what happens. Unfortunately.
I mean, I think that they did a really good job of elevating a new Latin superstar. Although Mario Lopez wasn't on the show enough. Here's what I love, because I'll just say it now, because I know Tiffany Haddish comes later. You really got the two types of celebrity involvement in WWE. Someone who intimately knows the product, but from 30 years ago, he's wearing like a Heart Foundation shirt,
and no one is excited to see.
Yeah, and then you have Tiffany, who I love Tiffany. She's really funny stand-up.
It's a legit superstar.
Legit superstar. She could give two shit.
Wait, what did she call it? She called the world champion. What did she
national
call it?
Title, Scott. It's
National
always
title.
been the national championship. You just weren't paying attention.
So-
Tiffany Haddish is a hardcore fan. She was going insidery.
So good.
She ready to cash that paycheck.
Yes, the power of Peacock here, of forcing their stars onto SummerSlam. This match was fine. Scott hit the nail on the head. This felt like a Raw match.
Wait, Robert, forcing their stars? You mean lending their fucking stars? Like Mario Lopez and Tiffany Haddish are bigger than WWE, dude.
No, but Mario Lopez
isn't bigger than WWE. Come on.
Dan, this is Slater we're talking about. This is star of Pacific Blue, but not in the beginning of the series. He joined later.
My cops, it should have worked. Mysterios and Usos. This was a total SmackDown retread. I feel like I've seen this match a million times.
Because you have.
Yeah.
Yes. It set up a weird musical interlude with Nakamura and Rick Boggs or whatever the fuck is Boogs. Sorry.
Ooh, this was terrible. Because it wasn't anything. Like, it wasn't like you thought, oh, maybe not Nakamura is going to have a match or something. It was literally like that's the thing when I think about this show, like if I'm in the audience for it, like if I paid money and I just got shit like this that was absolutely nothing.
Because this was Nick Khan again testing the world of they just like the entrances, so let's just give them the entrances, and then they have nothing else to complain about. The best thing about Nakamura in 2021 is he does his entrance, Pat McAfee dances, Rick Boogs plays the guitar, and then he just walks away. Like, this is Robert Roode's dream. This is the chance for him to get a push going forward. He could main event WrestleMania with just his entrance and then leave.
Rude and Boogs, book it.
All right, well, we get to the biggest hot topic element of this review.
Alexa Bliss?
Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks. By now, this has been dissected a million times by the internet. But Sasha Banks could not make the show. I'm not sure if it was because of COVID. I'm not sure if it was because of injury. I have no idea why the fuck she couldn't be there. They have kind of kept everything in the dark about it. Instead of now, this for me, I had like a million emotions during this because it was like in the beginning, I was like, oh my God, they really are fucking pulling Sasha and they're going to have Carmella. This has got to be a swerve, right? To set up Becky. Lo and behold, we get a swerve. Becky comes out. Now, what I think is going to happen is we're going to get Zelina Vega and Carmella versus Becky and Bianca. We don't get that. We get Becky taking out Carmella and saying, what if the man and the EST go against one another right here? Setting up what we think is going to be, the women's equivalent of Cena versus Roman. Not so fast.
Dan, how are you feeling at this time?
I was feeling elevated.
All this exciting news.
Hopeful. I was feeling, oh my God, they did it. They made me happy. I'm happy. And then Becky beats Bianca immediately after Bianca tries to shake her hand. Gets to 1, 2, 3, celebrates, people cheer, but then also it's not a real cheer because they're like, well, we like Bianca. Bianca looks like she's legitimately going to cry. Then there's a debate, hey, was this just a new like Vince bearing new talent? Was there an element of racism here? Because they, had highlighted the Bianca and Sasha package and the history making of two black women headlining a WrestleMania event. But we find out the answer is almost dumber, which is later in the week, they're fucking turning Becky heel. The biggest baby face they have, they're turning heel for no reason at all, except for, I guess, Seth's a heel on. I don't fucking get it. I'm getting my blood pressure's fucking rising.
All right. Take a
Robert,
deep breath.
Robert, you are
Dan has been snapping this week.
Robert, you're the Scott Chaplin of WWE.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm going to Scott Chaplin the fuck out of this segment right now, folks. Here's the deal. This was the right call and the right decision based on what they were facing. And I will tell you why within their minds, they thought this was right. This segment, they were continuing to push this Sasha and Bianca match, probably on the outside chance that whatever was going on with Sasha got cleared up and she'd be able to wrestle. When they found that it couldn't happen, Vince's philosophy is always, if you're going to replace somebody, you replace it with a bigger name, and that was Becky Lynch.
Yeah, but nobody's debating that.
I'm going to do Ross Perot now. Cannot finish. No, the thing is, you are not going to give away Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair unadvertised as an actual match. You make
You
$0.
do when you can't give them Sasha.
Yeah, but they know, right? But they don't. You make $0 by doing this right now. So what they did was they gave you Becky. You got the big exciting pop. They got the internet all buzzing and excited. And she probably said, "Hey, I was pregnant. I'm home. I have my kid. I don't need to come back for. If I do come back, I want to come back as a heel," which is what she has said. She enjoys playing a heel. This is like Steve Austin after WrestleMania 17 bad in terms of decisions, but she's a huge star for you. You have to give the wrestler kind of what they want to lure her back, because she can just say, "I'm home with my baby," and we need her to abandon her child. Therefore, you need to get her there to do what she needs to do. Her screwing Bianca over quickly in this manner, which was she cheap shots her, she pins her quickly. Everybody's like, what the fuck? There's now a reason for you to tune into SmackDown to want to see what the hell is going to happen. Is this what the audience genuinely wants? No. Is someone like Dan who's watching this legitimately upset by it? Yes, but you had emotion from a segment that has now directed you forward, where they're going to pivot this to Bianca's going to be a bigger babyface going forward. You're going to want to see Becky get her ass kicked in theory. Will this fall on its face? Probably. They were doing the best with what they had at this point in time. That's why they did it. And it upsets people, not to the point where they're going to say, fuck this, I'm never watching again. They're going to still tune in and see what happens on SmackDown.
All right, Scott and Mike, tell Robert why he's wrong.
Well, listen, okay, let Mike talk then.
You go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
I don't think he's necessarily wrong, aside from
he really was the Scott Chaplin of WWE.
Well, yeah, he's being right. So the one is Becky saying, let's burn down that, basically saying they're gonna have a great match. That gets you hyped for a match. I think that's kind of a bummer, but okay, maybe she's a heel, that's why. The main thing is her finishers fucking stink. Like, within the context of a long match, they're awesome, but she's not like a hard-hitting person. So when she does two moves, the two moves aren't even impactful. Like, they just look like transitional moves. So when Bianca gets pinned, you're not even like, oh, whoa, she got crushed, like Goldberg speared her. You just go, well, what the fuck just happened? That looked stupid. Like, you go, is Becky even allowed to wrestle? Is that why this happened so poorly? Because she wasn't cleared yet? Like, I don't even... It visually looked like shit.
That was the other thought I had, that Becky may not have been fully cleared to do anything other than this smoke and mirrors bullshit.
It visually looked like ass. Otherwise, I don't give a shit.
It's in a 4.5 hour show. It happened for 30 seconds. Then they moved on to more important things with water.
Okay, so I'm gonna. Here's the thing.
It ruined the night for everybody on the internet.
Yeah, and I think for some people in the arena, I think it was a fucking.
And for some people on the Zoom,
I think that this was the problem. The match itself was 30 seconds, but the whole thing was like, when you just watch it, it was like 15 to 20 minutes. Like, okay, so you don't have Sasha. You still do this video package saying she's going to be there. You tell people that she's going to be there the night before on SmackDown, even though you were never going to deliver her, which I think is bullshit. And then, so, because you could see like the emotions in the crowd, right? Okay, so Bianca comes out first, and it's weird that a champ comes out first, but okay. Then they announce that, it's like that Simpson thing, right? With the frozen yogurt. Sasha's not here. That's bad. Carmella's here. That's also bad. Becky's here. That's good. But Becky's gonna pin you. That's bad. Can I go now? Like, the way that they fucking ended up doing this, where you could have just had an angle, but to have, I think this shat on people's goodwill, this shat on people's excitement. There is a demographic in the audience and of the wrestling population that loves women's wrestling, loves Bianca, loves Sasha. You did not give them the match you advertised. You didn't give them a match. I think this was really fucking shitty. And I think that Bianca and Sasha was one of those matches that people paid to see here. And if they're going to, as you said, give them something better, then give it to them. But you didn't. And then what you ended up saying was, oh, that person that you did pay to see, well, she fucking sucks and she's a loser. This was a 0 out of 10.
But their person who was pitching this, let's call him, I don't know, Bruce P. or B Pritchard, whatever it may be, is saying like, no, Vince, you're giving them Becky Lynch coming back. They're going to go wild, and it's going to be bigger than that CM Punk return. And that's pretty much it. And we also think in terms of people bought tickets to this show to see this match when SummerSlam sold a shitload of tickets just by them announcing SummerSlam. And because there's no pay-per-view revenue anymore, Peacock's like 99 cents to watch it. They don't care about delivering something for the pay-per-view audience. We're coming from this from a different perspective of people would have paid hard-earned money for it. They kind of didn't for this match. It wasn't like they were going to deliver Roman and Cena and then John Cena just doesn't show up.
But
Hey,
Robert,
that happened though.
But Robert, here's the thing.
I couldn't see him.
Even if they bought the tickets before knowing what was going to happen, they thought they were going to get a Bianca title.
Yeah, no, this was there was definitely a lot of shady shit. My only defense of it is this was the best that they were going to do with what they were dealt with, because you had to establish Becky as a heel. You had to give them one of these fucking moments.
Why do you have to have her as a heel?
Because that's what she wants to do. Otherwise, she can just say, I'm going to stay home on maternity leave. I don't need to leave the home. And also, we're also forgetting,
the amount
Dan,
of money.
you're
She's
also forgetting
no to the amount of money WWE is going to pay her.
You never know. But what you're forgetting is towards the end of her run before she announced her pregnancy, the pops were not as voracious as they were before. It was waning a little bit, and I think she has more fun as a heel, and the crowd
everybody has more fun as a heel,
right? But she's also seeing what Britt Baker's doing in AEW, and like, well, fuck, that looks like a lot of fun. And if Bianca Belair is as over of a baby face as they've established her to be, you could have some fun with this. There is a potential for this being good. There's also a potential this being, the Steve Austin heel turn.
Well, then,
I think it'll be good. I really do think it'll be good. I just think,
I already pinned her.
And if she's gonna be a heel, how do we find out on the internet and not when we saw her come out at Summer? Like she didn't even do a heel move. She didn't like distract the ref and then low blow her.
She cheap-shotted Bianca. That was kind of the thing.
I mean, it didn't.
It was not as rushed and subtle.
No,
it was not. It was not great. They'll tell the story this week, in theory, or they'll just wind up releasing Bianca, and we won't know why.
Well, I'll just say that my feelings were hurt.
Vince, you owe Dan an apology.
I put the EST in saddest moment of the night.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
Terrible. All right, let's move on.
All right, next up, let's get to more upbeat moments of the show. Drew McIntyre versus Jinder Mahal. My note for this was mercifully short. Anybody else have anything to add?
Legitimately forgot it happened.
Drew waving his sword at Veer and Shanky like an old man shaking his cane at a child whose baseball landed in his yard was the fucking.
Do you think backstage, like Vince was like, oh shit, this Becky thing didn't work. You're going to have to kill Shanky.
Go out and shank Shanky. This was bad. And you know what, man? You know what this did do? I feel sad for Drew now. Like, I used to make fun of him and be like, oh, he sucks. I feel bad for the guy.
You know what it was? Because you watched Raw and you saw him in that tag match. You're like, he's got a little bit of charisma to him. There's something to what he's doing, even in these. He just deserves
to be fair, Mike didn't just say that, but go on.
Well, no, when we talked about Raw on the Something to Sports Entertainment, we both, Mike was like, yeah, no, there was something to what he was doing there. He just deserves a better story than what they're giving him and his magical sword that's, possessed by his mother.
Next up, we have a triple threat match. This was, my note was I was still very upset.
Because also, this is
how upset I was about the Bianca. And I was sitting in the bedroom with my wife watching this, and I was so upset about this match, I had to leave and go in the other room.
Wow.
Well, here's the thing. Once you lose your Bianca match, you have this and the Eva Marie Bliss as your only women's matches on a 4-hour show. That's pretty bad.
Here's my question. My emotional reaction to all this shit, is that WWE's fault, or do I have a problem that I need to address in therapy?
Yeah.
Regardless, you have a problem you need to address in therapy.
All right. Triple threat match. This was a good match, but again, what's the story they told? It was like Nikki Ash at Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair convincingly wins after Nikki Ash pretty much got her ass kicked during this entire program. Besides, a heelish Money in the Bank win. Now they're setting up Charlotte and Lily. Yeah, I mean, it was, technically it was a good match actually, but it just, the story it told, I was just kind of like, huh? Robert, what do you think?
I mean, it was a good Charlotte Rhea match that kept getting interrupted by Eugene. And that was kind of frustrating. That like Nikki is positioned as this bumbling, incompetent idiot when she's a very talented wrestler. And it detracted from what should have been a better one-on-one match, which was Rhea and Charlotte, which is what the crowd actually wants to see. And this storyline is still, I mean, thankfully it seems like it's potentially over with Charlotte since they're pivoting to her and Alexa Bliss, but Rhea and Nikki as best friends forever seems to be where we're going with this fucking thing.
Scott, what did you think of this?
It's just, to me, if you're gonna take the time to do a Lily Wink, why not give Nikki some goddamn superpowers, Let her shoot a laser beam out of her goddamn eyes or something. That's my opinion. And until I get that, I'm just not going to be that into the character. I don't understand why there hasn't been a payoff yet. It's like she's this person who thinks she's a superhero, and it's SummerSlam. It's her moment to finally show everybody she has it in her, and then she doesn't. So you just go, oh, so it's just a person who's wrong about what they think.
No, Scott, you're right. She's a
Fucking
comedy.
ass.
She's a comedy superhero character. They should play up the superpowers. Maybe lower her from the top of the stadium. What could go wrong?
All right, come
They
on.
could do that now. It's again.
All right, we already started the Vince Russo roast.
Exactly.
I mean, here's the thing about Nikki. Representation matters, and as an autistic person that loves superheroes,
You're glad Dave Meltzer's running?
it's great to see myself on screen.
You would wear the mask the same way.
Potentially the tights.
We get to our main events
My
of the
kids are
evening.
bigger.
The next match, I mean, for me, it's match of the night. I'm pretty sure that you guys will agree. Edge versus Seth Rollins. Really awesome entrance with the Brood. It picked up after a little bit of a slow start. Fantastic finish. I have a hot take about this match, which I'll say at the end, but it's pretty hot. It's burning my hands right now. So I'm gonna hold it. I'm gonna let it burn my hands a little more. Let the calluses form before I drop it on you guys. Robert, what did you think of this match?
I love the Brood music. I'm a sucker for it. I would have loved to have been in a packed stadium in a pre-COVID era with the Brood music playing. There were people having the time of their life for it. Yeah, to your point, the match started off slow, and I was kind of like, is this going to be another disappointment? And then they picked it up, and this was awesome. This was a great match. Edge fully embracing this old man Logan version of himself is a hell of a lot of fun. Rollins, this is the best Rollins we've had in a very long time. He's super motivated, and it was great. The crowd was happy, and the right guy won.
Mike, what do you think of this bad boy?
Yeah, I'm going to say a controversial opinion. I think Edge might be more talented than Christian.
Oh, Jesus Christ. You just broke the internet.
I think that he might be a better talker. And I think that he might be able to outwork people without having to say it.
And thinks outwork is 2 words.
No, this was awesome. I mean, the thing is, like, with wrestling, like, you can't call something a dream match. It has to just happen, and then we have to realize it in hindsight. And I mean, these two guys, and they did it in the story that they are parallels of each other. Rollins is the 2010s version of Edge, and it felt like a dream match by the end of it. It was fucking awesome. The finish of Edge smashing Rollins's face into the mat as he was submitting him was remarkable. This was fucking great. This deserved to be on a better show. This is, what WWE does.
This should have been on NXT the night after.
This is what WWE does at its best in ring. This felt important. It was important. This was fucking great.
Scotty.
Yeah, this was definitely match of the night for me by miles. Edge's entrance so fucking good. The theme Brood music, the Brood music is just the best. Yeah, this match was great. Seth Rollins and Ed. We knew it too. We called it, and it was what it was. Yeah, loved everything about it. And then also, you guys read that it inadvertently cost Gangrel a gig. Gangrel did an interview this week and said that he was booked to do Dynamite this week, I guess in the Christian Omega storyline or something. And they dropped it because Edge came out as a Brood, as Brood Edge. And they were like, that would be a little,
I'm guessing it's because he was at that Winnipeg show in '96.
Yeah.
Couldn't you just
said Edge felt bad about it? I guess Edge talked to him about it. Like Edge apologized to him.
What a great headline! Edge talks Gangrel from Ledge.
I just want that vision of backstage of like Giannis from the Bucks and Gangrel standing in the same waiting room, having vastly different experiences on Dynamite. All right, here's my hot take, guys. So in the storyline, Edge had to go to that place, right? In the beginning of the match, we see him rising from hell, and then he beats Seth with a version of the crippler crossface.
Nope.
Did he visit hell so Benoit could give him the finishing move? No? Zach? Anybody? All right. Fine.
Dan, wash your hands.
All right.
Even Benoit wanted nothing to do with this show.
All right. Goldberg versus Lashley.
And there's why.
Look, the match wasn't bad, but the aftermath was kind of funny bad. What did you think of this, Scott?
I thought this was brutal, man. It's this happens so often. It's just the opposite of what they wanted to occurred. Goldberg looked like he was gonna die 5 times in the match. I thought he was gonna break something. The ending was so perfect where they beat up Goldberg's kid. And you're supposed to be, how dare they, shocked, but everybody loves it. They're thrilled about it. And it ate shit, man. It just ate shit.
Yeah, let's be honest. Most of the people in this audience have been bullied by a kid that looks like Gage Goldberg.
Robert, what do you think of this match?
Like, as cliched as the Goldberg return has become, what's even more cliched is the moment in the match when the crowd thinks he's really going to win and they turn on Goldberg. And that happened here pretty early on. The audience, the Goldberg was positioning for a spear and the crowd just started booing the fuck out of it because they realized, oh no, they're really not going to put the title on Goldberg. And they didn't. And they came up with this insane finish of Goldberg. The referee's like, oh, Goldberg can't go anymore because Goldberg probably didn't want to take the pin. And then beating up Gage, who they were right. Somebody ran in from the crowd and attacked Lashley. So Lashley retaliated because this kid is fucking stupid and tried to attack Lashley without a weapon and got what he deserved. And in Saudi Arabia, it's going to be tough for the audience. Are they going to root for the guy defending the honor of his son or the guy who beat up 2 Jews?
Gage looks like the kind of kid who gets detained in Saudi Arabia and then his parents have to rescue him.
Look,
Gage, he looks like the beginning of Argo.
Yeah.
Gage versus Hook is going to main event WrestleMania. You guys don't know what you're talking about. It's going to be amazing.
Mike, what do you think of this match?
This was bad. I mean, it was an angle. It wasn't a match. And this, like, I'll just say it now. I don't know if we're going to do like a full review of the whole show after. I mean, this show dragged. The entrances were long. The video packages were long. We were past the 3-hour mark at this point, and we all just wanted to see Roman and Cena. And this just, even though the in-ring was like 7 minutes, everything around it was like double. And is the Miz segment after this?
Yes, the Miz segment was
God, this still happened.
No, it was before. I'm sorry, it was before this. It was before this.
Okay, so that's the thing too. Like, that was fucking horrible. And then this, it's just like, you were like, just can we end this show now? can we just get to the main event? This was just really bad.
Well, the missed segment they had to do because they had a sponsorship requirement for that pure water. So they needed to put it in somewhere. It should have been 30 seconds in a backstage vignette, but they needed to make money. But yeah.
Yeah, and I don't begrudge like doing sponsored content if that, you know, and that's a very Nick Khan thing, but it's like, yeah, to have it take up this much time and to put it like if I'm Pure Life, I'm like, what, you put it fucking 3.5 hours in?
Yeah, water turned heel during the show.
Yeah. Which is funny because people couldn't buy it in the arena.
All right, let's get to our main event. Roman Reigns versus John Cena for the Universal Championship. The first part of this match was me wondering what 10 Hall of Famers did Roman beat, because they mentioned that on commentary. And I'm like, well, what legitimate Hall of Fame? You know, like I was like, well, he beat the Outlaws at WrestleMania. Undertaker's not. Anyway, I'm not going to go through this whole thing. The guillotine to the roll up, I thought that was really good. Scott's going to argue with me on this. I thought their last match was more athletic, but I thought the psychology in this match was way better. Pat McAfee did a great job. And at the very end, we get Brock Lesnar coming out. And I was wondering, what if the storyline is during Brock Lesnar's absence, he found out that Paul Heyman was Jewish? And that's just the rest of this. So I thought the psychology was great. Scott, what did you think of this match?
Yeah, I thought it didn't deliver, but we didn't think it was going to necessarily deliver. We wanted to see two stars stare at each other, and then we knew what we were going to get, and that's what happened. John Cena called out loudly the entire match. There was like 5 moments where I heard very clearly what he told Roman to tell what to do, and then Roman did it. There was a moment where he's staring at the camera and goes, "Jump on my back," and Roman jumps on his back. It just looked like two friends practicing wrestling, and the roll-up psychology just made it look like they were running the ropes. Cena's roll-up sucks. It points out the jean shorts he's wearing, and it wasn't a very good match. Roman doesn't talk good shit. His moves never connect. So the idea that he's like a physical presence, I don't see it, and I think everybody likes to lie to themselves, because if they don't have Roman, what do they have? Well, a bunch of shit. That's what you have.
Well, I think Roman talks really good shit and has a great physical presence. I disagree with that.
Well, I think you think he's hot.
Well, I mean, that may be true too.
Your shitty boyfriend right now,
Robert.
I'll keep him head of the table.
He's different around me. You don't understand.
I liked the match. It had the epic spectacle feel at the start of it, of these were two big stars in there. We knew this wasn't going to be a 5-star Matt Classic, but the way that it was built up was Cena basically saying, Roman's going to beat the shit out of me. I just have to try to outlast him a little bit more. And he kept trying and trying and trying, and ultimately failed. And it worked well for Roman. I thought this was what this needed to be. The spot calling, I wasn't listening to this on headphones. I was watching it on TV. So I maybe didn't notice it as much, or was, paying attention to the match itself and not like, oh, this may not be 100% on the level. But I thought the match worked. The crowd really seemed to like it. The finish paid off properly. And they knew that they had the Brock return queued up, so it didn't necessarily matter. The audience was going to immediately forget the match and focus on how amazing Paul Heyman's sell job was of seeing Brock Lesnar.
Oh yeah, Brock being back rules. Ponytail Brock. He's going to be a face, which is going to kick ass. Yeah, I'm happy that Brock's
the second best Brock in all of professional wrestling.
Mike, what do you think of this?
I thought that this was, it was good. Like, I mean, this is, I feel like where Edge and Rollins elevated like the WWE like main event style. This was very by the numbers, but it worked. It did feel like your main event. It felt epic. I definitely think it would have been serviced on a shorter show. But no, it was good. I thought Cena brought it, and this version of Roman is the best version of Roman, and people were fucking into this. I thought that this was like a perfect SummerSlam main event. Did it elevate past that? No, but I enjoyed it.
Well, Mike, how many Scotty Meltzer flaming bowling pins would you give this?
I'm gonna give this show 2 because it was.
I'll go with you. I'm gonna say 2 too.
I'll give it a 2. I think the lows were lower than the highs were high. And I think that just the presentation, like this made me not want to watch WWE anymore. Just the amount of commercials and the amount of packages and entrances versus how little wrestling content you actually got. It was just a drag. It was just a boring show to watch, a depressing show to watch at times. And I didn't feel like I was fucking high off of the Punk return the night before. I was excited to see wrestling. This brought me back down.
Scott.
Yeah, I'll give it 2. Edge Rollins was really cool. It visually looked nice in the arena, and that's really it. 2.
Robert?
Yeah, I'll give it 2. I think it was a lot of people.
2s across the board.
Yeah, a lot of people were miscast in this. There was a lot of poor production decisions. Certain matches that should have gone longer went shorter. Certain matches should have not been on here at all. And there's no excuse for the show being over 4 hours when there is very little of it that was actually memorable.
And finally, Zack Attack.
I thought this show was terrible. I'm going to give it a 2.
Edge won. What's wrong with you,
What about
Zach?
the Edge match? You liked it?
That's the 2.
It's good to have you back, Zach.
By the way, Zach, it was Zach's birthday this week. He turned 28, but when he reviews wrestling, he becomes 82.
Well, happy birthday.
That was heartfelt. I like that, Dan.
Let's get to our next segment. Dynamite or dud?
Dud, let's move on.
We'll find out. We'll find out which one of us thought it was a dud, which one of us thought Dynamite was Dynamite. Let's go to, I'm just going to say this whole show just because we already recapped SummerSlam. On this show, we got Cassidy versus Hardy. We got the Varsity Blondes versus Penta and Phoenix. We got a Jericho promo outlining the stipulation for the all-out match with MJF, in which his career is on the line. Jamie Hayter versus Red Velvet. We have a Dark Order segment in the back, a teasing dissension. CM Punk promo, his second promo, his first Dynamite promo. A Miro promo. Darby Allin, Eddie Kingston, and John Moxley versus the Wingmen. An FTR promo setting up their match with Proud and Powerful, the rematch next week on Dynamite. The Ty Conti segment setting up a Rampage match he has with the Bunny. Kenny and Christian segment. Factory versus the Gun Club with an appearance by The Big Show. Lambert Mania 3 with Men of the Year. And Malachi Black versus Brock Anderson with a little bit of Arn getting involved. Scott, what did you think of this match? What was your high spots and low spots for this Dynamite? And would you say it's Dynamite or a dud?
Okay, so I definitely liked it more than you guys. I think I liked everything on the show, but the QT match and Brock Anderson having a dressing room. Those things bothered me a lot. Other than that, I get on paper, and I know that sounds crazy, but not just on paper, the idea of having Darby, Moxley, and Kingston come out and entertain the fans and showcase themselves while beating up some guys who, look, this guy's 6'6", and they beat him up. This guy does this and they beat him up. JD Drake, I think he's a really good wrestler. I thought the match was fun. I really I don't know. I just thought it. Okay, here's how I feel about it. So the CM Punk thing was great to me. I really loved it. And I was, you would think, since CM Punk is going to be on this show, and this is the first show after his debut, there's going to be more eyes on it. And so we're going to get all those banger matches that we're used to every week. And we didn't get that. We got a different way of presenting them, which I didn't mind. I didn't get aggravated at all during the show. Nothing made me mad. I just went, I wouldn't have booked that match. but none of the decisions within those matches made me angry or tested my intelligence or made me feel stupid for watching it. I liked it. I thought it was a fun show. It was a hangout show.
All right, so Dynamite from Scott. Robert.
Dud. Look, you had Punk's debut. To Scott's point, this should have been a banger show from beginning to end because you had lapsed fans coming back to see what AEW does and what AEW does best. And they really kind of failed to deliver that throughout the majority of the show. I liked opening with Matt Hardy, Orange Cassidy, because a lapsed fan knows who Matt Hardy is. You understood who Orange Cassidy was, their little delete kick spot. Super fun. That was fine. Malachi Black's promo was awesome about just roll out of the ring, take the 10 count. Like, I will show you mercy, set up his character perfectly. Jericho comes out, and God bless the fan in the front row that held up the sign asking fans to get vaxxed during a Jericho promo. You are my hero. How pissed must Christian be that Jericho stole his one more match shtick? I feel terrible for Max because this feud needs to stop forever. Nobody wants to see it. I just feel bad. Varsity Blondes, Lucha Bros was fun. Jim Ross trying to say hyperbole and calling it hyperbole was probably my high spot of the week.
Dude, he was lost
off,
in a mall during this.
That
Robert, you don't understand.
He called Jericho
that
Christian. He had no idea what was going on.
The Sooners won the Hopper Bowl 3 years in a row.
Exactly. Jamie Hayter and Red Velvet happened on television. Nobody wants to see a Dark Order split, which is it's like, just leave those guys alone. The Punk promo, the crowd loved it, but it, to me, kind of felt like the second time Bart said, I didn't do it. He didn't say anything new. It was great that the crowd loved it and there was emotion. There was not a single thing he said or did here that was brand new, other than teasing Daniel Bryan. Which is all the internet talked about. But the rest of his promo was, at some point, he literally said the exact same thing about Darby Allin. Like, it was like, for people who didn't see the other match, I'm convinced JD Drake is just mass transit back from the dead. And then
what is the Wingman's gimmick? What the fuck is it?
The Wingman's gimmick are that one of the guys from 2.0, his wife went into labor and they weren't there, so they had to change the match to this. So that's the only slight pass. Though I feel like part of me was like, John Moxley's a huge star and he's going into this match. They need to turn him heel. And he needs to just be like, this is the shit you guys are making me go and do. I'm your top star. Fuck you. Instead of, he's just a guy in this match. We got to see Gun Club, who are undefeated at 115-0, which is a big thrill. QT Marshall was fine in this match. You're wrong, Scott. You're a nerd. You don't get wrestling. The best match on this show, by the way, was the footage of Christian and Lance Storm from that match all those years ago. And then in the main event, Brock Anderson is a star in the making. I'm convinced he's Arn's brother, and they're just covering it up some way, because there's no way that dude is not 20 years older than all of us. This was a huge miss when you had a massive crowd and you had the right talent, just not put in the right ways to make people super excited for what was a really great week for them last week.
Did Alex Marvez lose a contact backstage? When he was doing that interview, he was like squinting the entire time.
He's trying to steal Jim Ross's Bell's palsy gimmick.
And that guy standing next to Andrade, who I still don't know who he is, looks more and more like Harold Ramis every week.
Mike, what did you think of the show?
To Scott's point, it was breezy. Like the show doesn't drag because shit keeps moving, even when it's not great shit. We did talk about it on the Patreon, but we didn't hear. The Punk moment was the Rampage moment on Friday. It was one of the best fucking moments I've had as a wrestling fan in years.
I mean, it's going to be everybody's high spot for sure.
Yeah, and it was really wonderful, and I think that but that was Phil Brooks coming back into wrestling. This felt like CM Punk's first debut on AEW. They were different in tone. It was cool to see him with Shivani. It wasn't going to have the same magic as the first time, but it couldn't. So, but I think in some ways it did, just in the fact of like, no, he's really back. Because like I remember like when Chappelle left and Chappelle would do clubs, and it would be like rumors like, oh, maybe he's here, maybe he's not. But then when he started like doing like tour dates in advertising, you're like, oh shit, this is legitimate. So this felt like it cemented the Friday thing. And yeah, it was the best part of the show. Yeah, I wouldn't have put Darby in a 6-man against the Wingmen if the point is like, we know that he's gonna be the heel in this Punk match, but let him feel special. Let him feel at least equal to him in a competitor standpoint. And this squash, I just don't think did that.
Well, I think you need to make video packages for new fans tuning in or whatever.
Yeah.
Don't want Darby Allin wrestling anybody but the Wingmen until he fights CM Punk, because you want him to be as safe as possible. And
I get that.
Every move he does is death, and it's like, okay, kid, don't die until you fight Punk. And I wouldn't put him in shit. I would literally have him riding skateboards around the back, reading Smith's quotes or whatever.
But I think, in terms of, I mean, I won't go over the whole show, but like, Dante Martin had this breakout performance 2 weeks ago, and then he talked about it last week for like 30 seconds. I would have put him on this show. I would have put Guevara on this show. I just think that there was better talent you could have used.
But also, you got to understand, they're testing all this talent, and they throw them out there and they don't deliver a Dante Martin moment. And okay, check, like they are still trying to give these people chances to see what happens when you put them with the stars. And
I get that, but I think sometimes they reward people that just haven't earned it yet. Like Lee Johnson being your big save in a main event.
It didn't feel like a big save, but I definitely...
It wasn't, dude. They set that up like a big save.
They set it up like a big save.
Nobody told the crowd that was a big save.
Scott, it was your cliffhanger. It was the end of your show.
Yeah, I guess they should have definitely ended with just Malachi standing over son and dad.
Dude, and I did not like him rolling out because of Lee Johnson.
I also didn't like Arn being the one to block the kick.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
That kick is a killer. That kick is awesome. They established it as an absolute fucking no questions asked killer. And then Arn puts up his podcasting arm and he kicks it, and then he just like brushes it off.
Brother, that's a cheesesteak. That arm is tough. I liked that. And then the low blow, it was awesome.
The Cheesecake Factory menu.
But you could elevate somebody like Hangman, or by being the first to block that kick. It doesn't do anything for
sure. Yeah. No.
And then
Hangman, you meant Cody.
The Kenny thing is like, he just doesn't feel like a main eventer. Like,
it's
they put him.
Dude.
They put him in the women's.
That's bullshit.
That's not a time slot. There's no time slots. There's no women's time slot.
Yes, there is.
There's no gender in time slots except for 9:30 on Thursdays. But Kenny didn't feel like the champion here.
There are certain people that only open the show. There's certain people they put only at night.
There's certain people that you're used to opening a show. It doesn't have to be that. It's a 2-hour show.
But listen, when they do put something in a main event, like the women in their first main event, they talk about it. They try to elevate themselves.
Yes, the main event always is a main event. I get that. But everything else can just go where you feel like putting it.
Oh, the one thing about the main event that kind of bugged me is I thought they were setting up a perfect story with Malachi Black's promo where he said, roll out of the ring, take the 10 count and leave. They should have teased that. Brock should have rolled out of the ring, let the count go for a little bit, then him run in for a hero spot, then get the shit beat out of him. It was a weird thing to set up and not pay off. That was
Brock was too nervous to remember a thing like that. Okay,
yeah, Brock can't count
a couple
to 10.
times.
I mean, also like this segment. They came back from commercial at 9:54. They had 6 minutes.
This was Nitro test. This should have been on Rampage. I mean, I get the story, but
yeah,
Punk should have main evented the show with the promo. Tease it, keep it to the end, make people sit and watch to the finish, because I think the audience was a little spent after just going apeshit for Punk. And if they were rabid all night, there was nothing else that they were going to blow their load on throughout this show.
But what I was trying to say, Scott, is I don't think that Christian and Kenny's going to be the main event. And it doesn't even feel like it. And also the story is that, well, I was 20 and I didn't get a job because they believed in a 10-year-old. But it's not
No,
like they
it's just
gave
part
him
of
the
it. It's
job.
just an additional thing. It's just an additional piece.
But it doesn't make sense.
Puzzle.
Well, it's going to end with Don getting arrested for hanging out with a 10-year-old.
No, I was just hanging out with her. I didn't mean to do anything wrong.
It does make sense. It's a knock on Christian. It's I didn't believe in
Man,
you.
first Don's getting the rub from Kenny Omega. Now Marty Scurll.
What are you saying, Scott?
No, it does make sense though. He's saying I believed in a child more than I believed in you, and I was right. It's like an insult. It's just a thing to say.
If it worked for
And they
Patterson, it
acting
can work
like
for
happened.
Callis.
It's part of a storyline. It works.
But it's literally
totally
like
awesome.
I didn't book you again because I just really like this 10-year-old. Like it just doesn't.
Well, yeah, it
it's not like you
was
booked the
just never
10-year-old
booked him
instead.
again. He just dismissed him. He was looking for someone to work on and focus on. He thought it would be Christian, and then he found Omega immediately after him, and just never even thought of Christian again.
Also,
But
is
then you
anybody
start-
worried they're legitimately going to bring in Eric Watts next week?
But Scott, it's not like he started putting him in events after that.
Well, no,
He
but
did. He
but
told them there was a
the-
camera, and this
the
is all
storyline-
wrestling.
Yeah, the storyline is that the storyline is that he's been training Kenny since he was 10. It's like a very silly thing, but they have
Grooming,
to
Scott.
train-
It's called grooming.
Grooming. Making his wishes.
Next week, we had Lance Storm versus the potential Kenny Omega will someday have.
All right. Well, let's get to high spot, low spot. High spot. I think we're all going to have the same high spot this week, which is CM Punk coming back. But honorable mention to Dragunov and Walter too. What a fucking barn burner that match was.
Oh yeah.
Unbelievable. If you haven't seen it, stop listening to us and watch it right now. What was your high spot this week, Scott?
CM Punk returning on Rampage, and I'll add Dynamite to it as the little sequel to it, because I loved the Darby would have been my favorite wrestler at 15. I mean, CM Punk can come out for the next month and just like name 5 more wrestlers on the roster and I'll be happy. So, last week he said Britt Baker and Darby. This week he mentioned Penta and Jungle Boy. Dude, I loved how he mentioned Brian Pillman Jr., Penta, Phoenix, and didn't mention Griff. That's some bullshit, man. That made me hurt for Griff hard.
He didn't mention Luchasaurus either.
Oh, true. Yeah, but Punk returning, man, on Rampage, the dive into the crowd, the chants, the explanation of I would have never gotten better in the place that got me sick in the first place, the ice cream bars at the end, the Darby moment, it all just worked. There were so many moments that worked. He left wrestling, but he was talking about when he left Ring of Honor, and he kind of doesn't consider WWE, him being a wrestler, more of a sports entertainer. It all just worked. It meshed well. He felt like the biggest star in the world, and it felt like a moment that couldn't happen with anybody else. It felt like, a little piece of wrestling history. It was awesome.
Robert?
I mean, we did a whole Patreon
Yeah, we did
on
a whole
the
thing
CM
on
Punk
it.
entrance.
That was it. Yeah.
Yes.
It was heaven.
So there's no way that's not moment of the week, month, probably year at this
Moment
point.
of the year, right? I mean, what else would have to happen?
QT Marshall beats the Big Show.
JT Marcel beats a debuting Bryan Danielson.
Wait, what if it would be a moment for a year? QT comes out with a full head of hair and they don't explain it on commentary.
I would actually fucking love that.
I'm gonna give a high spot of the week that's a little different, but connected. The 25 minutes of Mr. James E. Cornette praising the Punk return is something I thought I would never see. He fucking loved it, and that's amazing to me.
That's only the
Newsflash: Jim Cornette needs money, Tony Khan. So open up the checkbook.
Them
Mike,
Dairy Queen orders don't pay for themselves.
Mike, what was your low spot this week?
My low spot. I mean, I got to give it to the Becky, Sasha debacle. I mean, yeah, maybe it'll lead somewhere, but I don't care. I'm not interested in it anymore. I definitely don't think that you should ever show packages and advertise a match that you're not going to deliver. So fuck them for that.
Yeah, my low spot was definitely how that speed up. But honorable mention to John Moxley announcing that he's fighting Kojima. I was so bummed out by that.
That was brutal, and it was such a great promo.
It was a great promo, and
but when people don't know the guy's name, it just feels like he's threatening anybody.
Yeah, yeah. And also, Scott, I don't know if you had
scarier.
this, but I've never been so angry at two promotions at the same time. I was like angry that AEW built it up, and I was angry at New Japan like pulling their fucking New Japan shit
Bullshit.
again.
Yeah, it's
like,
so AEW thought they had Tanahashi, and so
I thought we were gonna get Suzuki or something.
Yeah, you want to, you want. It sounds like they didn't have what he wanted at the sushi restaurant.
Well, just between that and the Becky thing this week, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's just, especially because you are seeing New Japan announce some of these American shows, and Ishii is on them, and Tanahashi is showing up for some of them. And I don't think Ospreay should have showed up for Moxley. That should be for something else. But yeah, it is a bit disappointing. Well, I think the match is going to be good. It will be good. But unfortunately, it does make you go, God damn, this deal ain't working out like you'd hope, like you'd fantasy hope.
Oh, and something else I had to mention quickly is Dan Lambert.
Oh no, I love
my unique. But here's what's really funny to me: that his speech about millennials and woke and all these other buzzwords you can hear in a Dennis Miller stand-up set was so fucking funny that Ethan Page has a toy vlog. And Scorpio Sky has a podcast he does with a member of the YouTube comedy troupe Rooster Teeth.
Oh,
these are the tough men that are going to save. This is Ethan Karate Man versus Ethan Page.
I love that. Hey, I'll also say AEW Dynamite this week. Every promo I thought worked. Where I was like, oh, you got a bunch of killers. Where it was Mox, Punk.
No. I mean, Miro. I love Miro's promos, man. But I was like,
all of them, dude.
Come on. But the Miro thing, like,
dude, Callis killed it.
Dude, the FTR babyface promo.
Omega saying, "You think you know me?" I know that's not a promo. He didn't cut.
That was fun.
Promo,
but
it was
can we talk about Miro's promo for a second? I love Miro's promos. I love the verbiage, but like, he still hasn't given us a reason why he's fighting Eddie Kingston. Like, there's so many.
He half did, which is annoying. It should have been explained more. But when he said that, he thought Fuego got it in a really cheap bullshit way, which is, he loses this match, but he ends up getting a contract anyway. And he said that Eddie is the biggest, like, I don't know how he worded it, but basically persecutor. Sinner. Yeah, the biggest sinner. And to me, part of that is Eddie came out as an open challenge to Cody, and then was just losing matches here and there, and they signed him because of that. And Miro could say, you're worse than Fuego in the sense that you're not even physically fit and you look like shit in that outfit.
Yeah, why didn't he say that?
Well, I think he should. Yeah, and I hope he does. I know. Oh, dude, I think All Out is way too stacked already, where I go, God damn, it's kind of irritating that you're going to put this match on it, even though I think it'll be good and everything will work out. But wow.
Can you imagine if this was Punk and Darby, Tanahashi, Moxley, and Page and Omega?
Yeah, well, again, that's what they wanted, and that's not what could have happened, unfortunately.
All right, I'm gonna get my low spot out of the way so we can wrap this sucker up. On Monday Night Raw, they announced Karrion Kross versus Ricochet, and Karrion Kross came out in a gladiator mask and leather suspenders and squashed Ricochet in less than a minute. In an ideal world,
he looked like the final boss in Cornette's basement.
Yes, this was death across the board. You could see the sadness in Cross's eyes through the mask, which is what made it 10 times
he called
worse.
him the harbinger of sorrow.
Yes, and I think he stole Dan's gimmick. But what sucked more than anything else was this is the potential that WWE has, that they could easily tomorrow, if they wanted to, knock this out of the park with the talent that they have. Karrion Kross and Ricochet would be a fantastic feud, and instead you got this guy in a ridiculous Halloween costume beating Ricochet, who didn't get an entrance in less than a minute. This is the kind of shit that's going to be the downfall of WWE more than the Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch stuff, because they'll rebound from that at some point. This is why Miro is in AEW, why Malachi Black is in AEW, why Andrade is in AEW. They take talent, they waste it, and then, we'll figure it out down the road, and then they just cut bait on them. This was bad. This was such a bad idea that Freddie Prinze Jr. and I started agreeing on how terrible this made me agree with Freddie Prinze Jr. That's how fucking terrible this was. I'm done.
Well, and another, before I leave forever, another compliment on AEW. It's like even their jabronis get moves in, and we're so not used to that we get mad about it. We go, why does everybody get to be good at wrestling? They look like shit and the gimmicks suck, so why can't they suck? And they don't, and it's
well,
confusing.
I think that's a double-edged sword, not to bring up
that's what Karrion Kross should come out with next week.
A double-edged
sword and go, I'm better than you, Drew.
It's a triple-edged
for my mom and my stepmom.
It's a triple-edged gun. Who are we kidding?
All right. Hey, guys, we forgot.
Angela Patricia.
I know it's been a stacked episode, but I have to insert an honorable mention low spot that none of you guys brought up. Apparently this past week, Tommy Dreamer
yeah.
reached
Dan, this ties into
Mike, do you want to tell the story? You seem like you'd be better at it.
I was going to say this ties into our Twitter question of the week, but let's tell the story first.
All right, yeah, go for it.
So the viral fan that was crying.
Not to be confused with the viral fans at SummerSlam.
An all-time fucking fan moment. The dude weeping openly on Friday, and by the way, I would mention on AEW's YouTube page, they have the footage in the production truck of Punk's debut. It's fucking really cool. And when they find that guy and they're like, get on him, that's great shit. It's like they knew the magical moment it was. So Tommy Dreamer invites him to an Impact taping. I don't know why he's punishing him, but he invites him to it because he's like, I love your passion for wrestling. And the guy says no. And that's the highest spot.
Well, not only that, but wait, Scott, you explained it better. I thought.
Yeah. So the way Dreamer explains it is, the guy's too humble. He doesn't want. I asked him if he could come on if I can interview him on the radio show. He said he had a job. I asked him if I could fly him to Vegas for Impact. He said no. He goes, I had a show this week in the suburbs of Chicago, which is where he lives. And the guy said no. And then he goes, he's just a real humble guy. Then like 2 sentences later, he mentions how he's accepted tickets from Tony Khan and will be doing a meet and greet with CM Punk. It's like he just doesn't want to go to Impact, man.
That's like Christian.
Good.
So he was like, he blocked me because he was just too humble to accept calls from me.
Yeah.
The Twitter question of the week. I asked our Forbidden Dorks, what's the moment that would make them that guy? What would be the moment that makes you just fucking openly weep in public like that? And here's what we got. At Andy's Jack 23. When Robert decides to take over New Japan Corner. At 655-321 King, I'd cry if a wrestler named The Onion debuted and bladed during one of his matches. At Chat Mannequin, having any of my friends or family take more than a passing interest. Whoa, that just got too real. At LaCroix Boy, the Flair well, but with QT as Flair and Cody as Shawn Michaels. Oh, it's coming. At Doge,
yeah, but it'll be backstage and it won't be wrestling.
At Doge Satiric, this was a photo, but this really fucking made me laugh. It was just a Photoshop of T-Bar is all elite. At JF McCauley, Randy Savage rising from the grave and annihilating Hulk Hogan with Sith lightning and an elbow drop from the heavens. At Huskers 88, a coherent Monday Night Raw where the WWE actually acted like they like the fans that watch each week. Hashtag I have a dream. At White Tick, if Peacock had a no Dominic Mysterio tier. At Hunter Jason Dean, John Cena not coming back again. At Lash 7247, JBL using a time machine he borrowed from Hitler, going back in time to stop his own bullying of the Blue Meanie at One Night Stand and preventing Stevie from caving in his skull with a receipt, and all is right with the world. Cue the I'd like to teach the world to sing Coca-Cola music. At Berlin 19, Bret Hart learning how to make a friend. At Mass Nerder 77, the long-awaited return of Pepe, backing up Chavo and Andrade. Hell, if the WWE can make a voodoo doll a main character in their programming, why can't AEW reintroduce a grown man stick horse? At Show Off 1984, Scott Chaplin finally criticizing AEW. And at Lucha Safety Brothers, Benoit being the surprise entrant at next year's Royal Rumble. We got worked for 15 years.
Oh man, that's dark.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Next week we're gonna have a packed show. We got the bright side of Lawrence Taylor, which there's a ton to talk about. The roast of Lawrence Taylor for Show and Hell. We're do something a little different next week because this is a movie that Lawrence Taylor was in. We're gonna talk about the Al Pacino Any Given Sunday speech, which is kind of crazy. The first round of the We Must Hate Ourselves World Cup. QT Marshall versus who? Dynamite or Dud. All out predictions. High spot list.
Who versus who?
Who versus who?
Why versus who?
High versus who? High spot versus low spot. Guys, this is the week to become a Patreon member because on Monday, not only are we roasting Vince Russo, not only are we talking about the Judy Bagwell on a forklift match, but we're also going to be deciding whether or not SmackDown or Rampage is better. So you're going to get recaps and you're going to get a roast if you become a patron this week. And if you become a $10, you get a bunch of extra shit. You get a bunch of extra episodes. Best Patreon in the business. Join our YouTube channel. Join our Facebook. We're posting there. Scott's on there now. Tweet at us. Follow us on Twitter. Leave a 5-star review. Leave a review on iTunes. Put us on wrestling forums. Tweet to Conrad that you love us. Anything you can get the word out that would help. Mike, what do you got?
Join our Facebook page. We have lots of fun discussions there. A lot of really funny people who get to share their thoughts on wrestling. When there's a pay-per-view, when there's a show, there's people in there chatting it up, and it's a good time.
Robert?
You can follow me on Twitter at WWCreative_ISH. Scott is on the Facebook page. Somebody was posting about it today, demanding that Scott be on there. We know you're there, Scott. So, tell the people hi. And something to sports entertainment with this week. The NXT TakeOver recap show and the Raw recap show were both a blast. Definitely worth going and checking those out too.
And Scotty?
Scott_Chaplin on Twitter and Instagram, and WrestleRoasts on Twitter.
And Zach?
Wash your hands.
Wow, there was authority. You were stiff with that. All right, we'll see you next week.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.